The system that we have currently was not set up to let us go. Maybe we will experience lighter, better circumstances and higher frequency and higher consciousness while still alive, and then in a different world. But as for completely exiting, that's not within the near reachable reality, I hate to say.
Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Inspire conversation. This is the third one with Isabella Greene, who is a metaphysical specialist, a spiritual healer, a modern mystic, and best-selling author dedicated to the evolution of consciousness and humanity's ascension. Her groundbreaking books, Leaving the Trap and Beyond the Trap, brought her to global audiences through programs like Coast to Coast AM, Next Level Soul, Jeff Mara Podcast, and Iconic TV. With innate paranormal gifts since childhood, years of advanced yogic practice, and a life rich with diverse experiences from the New York underground music scene to corporate finance, Isabella underwent a profound reawakening that set her on a path of service. Drawing from her studies and certifications in energy work, hypnosis, and life coaching, she developed her own unique method of multidimensional healing. Today, Isabella works internationally, offering remote sessions, workshops, and appearances at major conferences and retreats. She was also featured in a 2024 documentary, The Great Unknown, a groundbreaking exploration of the afterlife. Isabella's mission is clear: to help everybody embody their sovereignty, remember their higher essence, and step into freedom beyond the reincarnation cycle. Please welcome with me my friend Isabella Greene. It's great to see you.
Wonderful to see you again, John, and thank you for editing my bio, making it so short to the point and beautiful. Please send me that. I want to use that. I appreciate how you put everything in such a succinct way there. Thank you very much, and it's wonderful to see you here. It feels like it's a new day, new beginning, new energy, new timeline. Everything has just leveled up recently, and I'm excited to see you at this happy moment.
Oh, I'm excited to see you at this happy moment as well. We just talked off camera. I want to go back to the day when you emailed me months ago, and you said, I had an extraordinary experience that I've never had before. And I really want to share this with you and your audience if you're interested. And of course we are. And then, Isabella, you told me since that happened, you're going to tell us what it was. A lot has changed in your life. Interestingly, a lot has changed in our lives and many people in our community. There's something profoundly beautiful happening. But let's start at the beginning. You wrote, I saw Yale de Beat. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. The rest is all you. What happened?
Yeah, on June 20th, which was the summer solstice, I got ready to do my usual practice, which I have been doing for years. For years, I have gone into the mainframe of the matrix system, or now I call it, I never called it mainframe, by the way. That was the first time I did. And I experienced it as what I now know, what I now call the fake void, meaning the outermost layer around the Earth's astral structure that encompasses many different dimensions. From that layer, when you're within it, you have the ability to influence reality, to co-create, to manifest easier, to adjust your own circumstances within Earth plane, and also to assist globally. And so every solstice and equinox, I have done the same process for years. I have gone into that layer, which I understand much better now. I did not fully know. I just knew if you were in that space, then you can influence reality easier. So and my intention was to go and to assist my own circumstances because things were all over the place at that time. And then also to influence or to contribute positive energy towards what was happening on Earth, because that was a volatile time. Uh, People were spinning in the next level of hysteria. It was just like things were really not looking so positive at that time, and we were getting all kinds of information from all directions of people freaking out. So it was really volatile environment on Earth, and there was a lot of activity going on and a lot of occurrences that people were all freaked out about, or at least the news were making them freaked out about that. So I wanted to just contribute the energy of peace, or contribute to the more peaceful perspective and outcome, and just send some of that energy from that space, from that fake void. And as I entered that, so first of all, the difference between my normal practice and that day, the solstice peaked during the sunset hours. All shamanic practices tell you to not astral project, to not go out of body, to not do any out of body activity during the sunset hours. But I was thinking, I've done this a million times. Who cares? Sunset hours, who cares, right? The sun is going down, that's all right. And I also never said the word mainframe. But somehow here there was my intent. I'm going into the mainframe because I've been strongly influenced by the idea that this is a simulation. So hey, let's call it what it is, mainframe. Go into the mainframe of our reality to influence it and also adjust my own personal circumstances. As I entered that space, first time ever, I had a really eerie feeling that there was something else there, and that something was looking at me. You know how you're in a dark room and all of a sudden it's like there's like, ooh, something.
Something's
right?
observing me, right?
Something uncomfortable. Something is looking at me. You know
Oh, yeah.
when that's happening, right? And that space is not entirely black, although it's called the void. I call it the fake void because it is not entirely black. There are sometimes like a little bit of light floats by, but not bright light, like lighter spectrum black or super dark spectrum gray. And so within that, when you are within that space, you're not in complete blackout. There's something. And so as that lighter spectrum gray kind of blob of light floated by, I saw an eye, and an eye was humongous. And I did not know, because when you are, this is astral projection, or this is because this is happening within the astral layers of Earth plane. So the outermost layer, but still within the astral system, right? So I am, when you're in that space, you don't really know what size you are. You can be any size right there. You don't really, like, I didn't really have specifically assign myself a size of any sort, but because you are there as awareness. But
yeah, you're not there as your body. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but the eye looked seriously huge, and it had a vertical pupil, like a reptilian being. And then the lighter color thing floated away, and complete darkness. And then another part floats by, and I'm continuing to try to figure out what that is. And I see a claw, and then I saw a scale, and then I saw a spike. And so me, in my positive thinking, I'm going like, oh, there must be a guardian dragon around Earth or something, or sitting here and protecting Earth from whatever is happening. So that was my thinking first. And then I thought, okay, so then maybe I still had my objective. I still wanted to do what I was there to do. So I thought, okay, if it's sitting here, let me project myself to the other side, where I'm thinking it's not sitting on the other side and of the planet or of that layer, and from there I can do what I came here to do. As I projected myself into a different location, it was still looking at me. I still had the same feeling. And then I realized that it didn't matter where within that dimension I went, it was fully conscious of my presence. So that's an uncomfortable feeling, and that was the feeling that was interfering with my idea, my objective, or what I wanted to do. So I pulled back into my body. As soon as I got into my body, of course, my curiosity, my human curiosity, was like, "What was that? I have never seen it. I've been in that layer a million times. Why? Like, what is it? I need to know." So I quantum traveled past that layer, out, but not out of the entire greater matrix. The greater matrix is the bigger bubble that contains the Earth matrix, and then other systems that are within that same dimensional level of consciousness. So I'm hanging outside of the Earth matrix. I can see as the black layer as a ring outside, and then all of the colorful layers that they all blend into each other. It's not like a layer after layer, 12 dimensions. It's just kind of blending. There's light and color, and then there's Earth. And I'm looking from outside of that structure, and I am trying to remote view what's inside that black layer. And so I focused, and I was able to see a being that at first I thought was an Ouroboros, because it was wrapped around Earth in a tight circle. But as I started zooming in, I saw that the Ouroboros usually is depicted as a snake swallowing its own tail. But here, that being had a head that was more like a mix of a lion head and the head of a reptilian, like the kind of a dragon that you see during Chinese New Year celebrations. By the way, I think we're in the year of a dragon right now, that kind of dragon specifically, right? That long body, like a snake, short, thin legs with huge paws and huge claws, huge fangs, and that kind of lion reptilian head. It was not swallowing its own tail. It was wrapped around Earth in a tight circle, like an animal around prey. Like, this is mine. That was the attitude. And I was still kind of confused at that point. And I was still thinking, oh, so maybe that's a dragon guardian still, right? But I decided to tune into the attitude. Like, what energy is that being projecting or experiencing? And if it's a guardian, you'd expect that it has empathy or care about what it's guarding. There was zero empathy or care for the Earth plane. What I tuned into, what I felt coming from that being, was cold, dismissive arrogance. That's the best I can describe it. Confidence, like it's not bothered by anything. Definitely was not in any way bothered by my presence, which I think is good for me. But I think if we, as the entire humanity, projected over there and tried to influence it, it would be like a bunch of moth or even I don't know, fruit flies or something for that being, because there is this incredible level of confidence. Like, this is mine, this is my turf, nothing is going to affect it or change it. There are no changes that you're going to be making or anyone is going to be making, like that kind of attitude. And and complete disregard for the well-being or empathy for Earth plane. It was just kind of, this is my property, this is my prey on my property, and cold, dismissive arrogance. That's the best way I can describe it.
since you haven't seen it before and you haven't seen it since, and even though you say you don't think it was bothered by your presence, wouldn't you think that maybe it's possible that it was there because of you, so that you would get that impression, so that you would get that level of, oh, there's nothing you can do? Because why would it have never been there before or never afterwards?
I don't think that for that being or that consciousness, my presence had enough significance to even care, what I would project or what I would think or what I would experience. Um, I do not know why I've never seen it there before. I would suggest that maybe because I've never gone there during the hours of sunset. I've never said the words mainframe. And maybe also I do not recall, although I have done these ceremonies or these processes to go when things would get really insane on Earth regularly, right? Regularly facilitated insanity and hysteria. I would go into that space and do my best to contribute to the positive energy or bring the positive energy. But I haven't seen that before. But here, it appeared to be what was happening on Earth at that moment appeared to be like a major regime change or perspective change and major military operation. As I found out later, which I didn't even know because I was in my solstice stuff and I had no idea what the Earthlings were doing at that time. So when I came back into my body after two attempts, right, and remote viewing this thing, and I landed into my body, and I was still in this in between state where the mind is able to access information easier than through the facility of the brain. I asked within me, I was like, so what was this? If this wasn't a guardian, what was it? And why was it there? And then like the hair stood up on the back of my neck and I was like, my God, this was a Yaldabaoth. And he was just holding on to his property and possibly there harvesting the loosh that was just pumped during that time through all of the occurrences on Earth. And then I started immediately, like I couldn't sleep that night. I started looking through the scriptures, the Nagamari text, and it says there the lion-headed, arrogant, this and that, right? The blind god, and the whole description of Yaldabaoth in the part that is called the origin of the world. How he assumed the authority over matter, how he created the heavens, like the seven heavens, and was ignorant and lion-like in appearance, and the first archon and all. So I started reading all that, going, and then looked up the Ouroboros because this is what it reminded me of. And there were Greek depictions of Ouroboros in the same article on Google. If you put in Ouroboros, you will see different pictures of it. And some of these pictures have the head and the little legs resembling what I saw. The head in the Greek depictions looked more like a fox head. So in my vision, that was more like a Chinese dragon head, and the little legs were the same, and the body was very similar. So this was something that shook me to the core. It was a very cold, unpleasant presence that literally had no care for its subjects. If it is the creator of the whole astral structure and the earth plane and the masterminds of the whole thing, right? And we are here to contribute the lush to well-being of him and his, as I read in the Nagamati scriptures, his children that he produced, Yahweh, Yahweh being one of them. Yahweh actually had a realm to himself that father assigned to him. And would that be a different type of being? I don't know. Not according to Paul Wallace. Paul Wallace says these are dragons also, so, or the reptilian types of beings. So I have not gone back there into that space since. And then I had a miracle. I had a miracle.
Wait. I got to interject before you go into the miracle.
Okay.
Because I need to set it up properly, because there's so much synchronicity here. When you reached out, it looked like we were going to land on a date very soon to discuss this, right? Your experience.
Yeah.
And then we go back and forth and we're happy. We find the date, we find the time, it's all good. And then I email you and say, I'm so sorry, but something slipped my calendar and that date is booked. And you email me in the same minute and go, I just noticed that the time that we had was actually, so it couldn't happen. It didn't want to happen.
Yeah.
And since then, you had a miraculous experience that has sort of shifted you.
Yeah.
And I've had my own in recent weeks and months that it shifted me. So now here we are having this conversation, which I'm glad it's happening now and not a month ago. So let's talk about that. The timing is perfect. What happened? What was the miracle that happened to you?
So if we talked back when it just happened and I was still like, what's going on, right? The Great Reset is a new matrix structure. What is he's harvesting us? It's whatever, like whatever was going on through my head there. It would have been a very different conversation for sure. But we just had a lunar eclipse on the full moon. And just as you mentioned in the green room there, things were rock and rolling in my reality, and there were all kinds of stuff happening and changes and shifts and rearrangements and all of that.
Same here.
By the week of August 22nd, like the third week of August, things just stabilized. And then we had, right? And then we had, and people were actually, I was speaking to a few healers and the people who work on me, and they were asking me, like, do you know, like, what's going on? Like, everyone is just, stuff is just terrible for people, like all kinds of things that happen, and things are so unstable. That was all July and first couple weeks of August. And then by the third week of August, everything stabilized. And then we had the full moon, and on September 7th, full moon, total lunar eclipse. And that was supposed to be like a portal, the energy that will influence humanity or what's happening on Earth for the next 6 months. I tell you, I feel like I got wiped.
In a good way.
But in a good way. Like I literally, all that edge that was happening is all gone. But there was a miracle that happened on the day before, on September 6th. I went out to eat. On the way back, I was driving and the storm hit. And I really don't like driving through like a wall of water and like the whole thing. Right? I don't know. So I'm driving a little bit ahead of the storm. It literally is like hitting the back of my car, like that wall of water. I'm like sitting there holding on to the steering for my life. And then I get to the top of the hill. And in front of me, is the valley. Like from that hill, I could see the valley, and I can see that that rain has not reached there yet, but it's already drizzling there, and it's overcast. But there is like a portal coming from the skies, and through that portal in the skies and these clouds, and in that through that portal there is a beam of sunlight, and it's shining right onto the road in front of me, and there's not a single car in front of me, and in that beam there is a rainbow.
That's incredible.
So I am looking at the beginning of the rainbow. It literally starts right on the road that's in front of me, and then it arches out into the sky and up. And above it, as I look above it, is another one. So a double rainbow, and the one starting right in front of me on the road. And of course, I immediately forgot about the rain and everything. I'm just looking at it going, wow, this is breathtaking. And I keep driving because that's my road. That's the only road. And then I drive through that rainbow. I literally drove through that beam of sunlight that stayed there, and everything, all the shiny parts of the car, they all changed color. Like I just dove into this incredible, colorful portal of light, and I lost my breath. It was unbelievable. And as I drove away, I looked back, and I could see the rainbow in the back behind me, and the second one. I literally, it's like I just drove under the rainbow and through that rainbow, and I didn't think that was possible. And then as I drove through it, the water started coming down, and I'm again like, I can't see. So it was like a tiny, tiny island of a miracle, hidden in the downpour, hidden in that dark storm that was happening. And oh my God, I don't know about you, but I'm getting chills just talking about it.
I mean, so am I, because it's so metaphorical, right? The storms around us, all that, and you go, what did you feel? Like, what happened inside of you?
I felt the level of divinity, like I was just touched by a miracle, like I was just touched by divinity itself, touched by the rainbow, touched by divinity itself. It's indescribable. It's like you witness the presence of divinity within our reality, regardless of what's happening in the overhead department there, both locally here, what the governments are doing and all that, and globally, or in the upper astrals or whatever. Regardless of what is going on, there is the level of divinity within this realm that is present, and you can be touched by it. That is the feeling that I experienced. And it gave me this unbelievable heart opening state of being. Like I was ready when I got home to like drop on my knees and start crying. It was just to that point, and I shared that, and there were a few people, not too many, but there were a few people on my Facebook who sent pictures and also said they walked through the end of the rainbow before, and what happened with them too. And so, not meaning this is possible, like I didn't make that up, right? I still could not believe that it actually happened. Like, was this like a parallel reality, or what was this? Because it's hard, like it's scientifically impossible. But there were other people on Facebook who wrote and shared that something of the same kind happened with them as well before. And so it changed my entire state of being. And then I started doing the meditations for the lunar eclipse, and the lunar eclipse was happening the next day after the rainbow situation. And it was on the other side of the planet. So for us here in Arizona, it was during the day. So I was doing the meditation during the day, and I was like, that's it. I'm going. I don't care. I am going into that layer again because I'm like so full of divinity. I'm going in there and I'm going to just emanate that from there and whatever. And when I went in there was nothing. I didn't see that presence. And I tell you, by the end of that meditation, when I came back, I was crying my eyes out in gratitude. In gratitude. Like,
It's beautiful.
yeah.
It's
So I'm ready to share it to you right now, just sharing with you.
I can the beautiful thing is, Isabella, I can so relate to what you're sharing because and it's not just you and me, it's so many people within our community that have gone through their own version of your experience, not like you had it, like with the rainbow and with the beam of light, but just the transformation, this almost instantaneous shift. And even if it takes a few weeks, it's still almost instantaneous. But
Yeah.
my own version of this is that we had an extraordinary challenge earlier this year in spring, something out of
Trauma.
something out of the blue that came into our lives that we had no answer for in the moment. Like,
Mm,
sometimes you just face something that you have no answer for.
yeah.
And we did something that we usually don't do. Like, we reached out to our friends and asked for help. Like, I was never a good one to ask for help. That was never, but I was like, hey, this is it. And we're just going to honestly ask for help and say, we need help here. What started to happen was divinity expressed through those people, because people started showing up in ways, and that started triggering strangers to show up in ways that somehow got affected by all of it. And we were just in awe of the divinity being expressed through all these people. And they created or harvested or somehow put together so much energy around this that we began to shift and literally experienced a shift throughout this summer, and an up leveling tremendously. And everything that was needed showed up. Every person that was needed showed up, every helper, everything showed up. And it was incredible. And here we are having this conversation in mid-September here. And we both feel like a tremendous up leveling shift rise has happened. And which leads me to ask the question you mentioned, and this is a sort of, it's known to many people, that this dark over entity, the Yaldabaoth, whatever, feeds off of Lush, which is despair, sorrow, suffering, right? That's the energy that humans emit, and that's what it feeds off. Maybe, just maybe, we're at the beginning stage of starving this being, by, by spreading the love so much. I don't know, really, I don't know. But what is it, do you feel? How has your outlook changed? And maybe even your vision of how you're going to do your work? What do you think is about to change for you?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have the very the same perspective as what you were suggesting right there, because according to according to Robert Monroe, the highest and the most pristine kind of lush that humanity can produce is love. So it literally says in Far Journeys, when Robert Monroe had his eye-opening experience and found out about Lush, he says that something, and I can't quote it directly, but he says something to the regard that Earth is the school to teach humanity to produce the highest level of love Lush. So the ones going into the love spectrum, and there's the whole timeline that is taking us into the love spectrum. we're going to be the heroes producing that highest quality lush, regardless of I'm not starving, but producing like the pristine level. Suffering produces a different kind of level. But let's say that that is all happening in the background still. Who cares? We're still able to experience a higher timeline on Earth that has been predicted, that has been spoken about, the bifurcation, the split of reality where there's a part of the population that's going in onto the love timeline and the higher timeline, and another part of the population continuing to spin in whatever. And I think that we just faced that Y in the road, when there's a part of the population that are tangibly experiencing the love based higher timeline or different timeline than the rest of the population, unfortunately. Does that starve the being? I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I don't know. And I can, I would love to believe that, but I don't know for sure. At the same time, it gives us the opportunity to have a much more uplifted and a much more inspired and a much more love filled and heart centered experience on Earth, which elevates everyone around, everyone who you influence, and everyone within your own reality and your own self as well. And I mean, what can be better than that while still here on this planet? So there is a win-win for sure. I mean, not a win-win, but there's a positive there's a positive part, super positive, and possibly all the teachers that were speaking about Earth going into the timeline, or some of the people going into the timeline of love and divinity. Maybe that just begun, or that just started tangibly. How it affects the overall matrix structure, how it affects the overall structure for the beings who created the whole system to feed themselves. That I am not sure about. That I'll be honest.
I'm neither am I, by the way. And I think it's also important to distinguish that love and love are not necessarily the same things. So
Yeah.
in most humans' experiences, love is a conditional thing, right? It's a very big feeling, but it's also tied to certain conditions. And when those conditions aren't met, then the suffering because of the absence of those conditions is also very big. So that's human love. And that I don't think is the same as unconditional love, which you experience when you go beyond all judgment, right? When you go beyond all necessity to define, interpret, or receive, or anything like that. You experience this in the space of infinity. There is no judgment on anything. There is no necessity for anything. It's this unconditional love. And I think
You experience that as the state of being that is not attached to any particular subject. It is just an overall state of being that encompasses the entirety of your essence. That's I think that's the timeline. That's the love timeline that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the timeline where you go, as a couple holding hands, and if the person rejects you, then I hate you. Like what we do here on Earth, right? That is as distorted as it gets, and you're absolutely right. I'm talking about the timeline where it is your essence, and it's not linked to any subject in particular. It literally is just a state of being.
And do you think that on this timeline, and I feel this very strongly, that the next few years are going to be an exponential expansion of this for those who decide on it, for those who decide to take this journey. So it's going to be beautiful. And in this V that you describe, you're also going to still have the perspective of the other stuff that's horrible, like that's just horrible. And holding this, being able to experience such beauty while still being able to observe such suffering, that is a challenge. But do you think that this path, this love path, if we want to call it that, is a liberation from unconscious or conscious karma, as people have finally realizing they can transcend it by making a choice? And do you also think it is the path of consciously exiting the reincarnation cycle very clearly if they choose to do that?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I do not know, and I do not believe that the souls that are here within this plane, that are held within this plane, are going to be let go just like that. I think that what is happening in the background is a reset. The great reset is the new matrix structure. Someone in my group, Exiting Reincarnation, recently said that. And that really rang like a big bell for me.
I agree.
It might be easier and lighter and more beautiful on Earth, and an entirely different experience, because what we put out, we get back, right? Mm-hmm. We emanate that incredible energy. We get experiences that reflect that, and so it's a much higher level of consciousness, a much higher level of frequency of experience also on Earth. But the day comes for us to exit this simulation or the matrix structure. Do they just let us go? I kind of doubt it. So if we take, for example, chapter 43 of Yogananda's book, Parahatma Yogananda, where Sri Yukteswar comes back after passing, and then he resurrects and he comes back. He tells a story because he reached a certain level of enlightenment within this reality. And where did he go? He went on a neighboring planet where now they were paying off astral karma, and it was still cross-incarnating between Earth and that reality. And when that was going to be over, he was going to go to another planet within the matrix structure that had even higher consciousness, but there was still some sort of karma to pay off and more. And so if you read that chapter closely, you will see that there really isn't the way out. The way through reaching a certain level of consciousness within this lifetime and the next lifetime, and then the astral lifetime and another astral lifetime and a different part on a different planet, because it's endless. It just continues to go and go. And if we graduate planet Earth, we're still on a different planet under the same pretext of working out like other kind of karma. So the system is very intricate and very complex, and it has many different worlds involved. And even Sri Yukteswar in that chapter says that the physical reality hangs like a tiny basket underneath the balloon of astral layers, and then the number of planets and universes within that structure is numberless. And so you just continue hopping from one reality to the next. You upgrade a little bit here, you go to the next one, and there's still karma, there's still something, and you're still incarnating, you're still being kept in a way. So the system that we have currently was not set up to let us go Maybe we will experience lighter, better circumstances and higher frequency and higher consciousness while still alive, and then in a different world. But as for completely exiting, that is nowhere in the near within. That's not within the near reachable reality. I hate to say.
Do you think you have freedom over your choices? This is it's a yes or no statement. Yes or no? Do you think you have freedom over your choices?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you have freedom over your choices as an absolute statement, this entire system must require your consent,
Yeah.
regardless of the number of different planets, dimensions, spheres, realities within this system. It requires us to consent to it. So we can consent
Yep.
to the path, but what happens if we don't? What happens if we choose origin, which is infinite? It's infinity, right? We are infinite in our origin. Why not choose that if we want to? I'm not saying choose to anyone what they should choose, but if we choose to not consent to this system, what then?
I think that when we originally entered the entire structure that includes other planets and Earth reality as well, we gave consent to be a part of this experiment, to be a part of this system. And that is also in Robert Monroe's book, The Far Journeys, where he describes, as chapter 10 and 11, he describes a soul from outside of the whole system who was curious about what was going on Earth, and they wanted to just have one lifetime, one experience. But when they come in, they consent to being wiped, to losing the memory of where they came from, to losing the memory of who they are, and to taking the risks that come with Earth experience. And as they consented to that, they said they're coming in on their volition, same as I remember myself coming in too. That's it. After one incarnation on Earth, all of the memory is gone. They literally only remembering themselves as being a part of the Earth plane, and they're planning more lives on Earth and all of that. So I think that the original consent, when we as souls entered the greater matrix, the bigger system that includes the Earth plane, and then entered the Earth plane. So there are layers of that, and perhaps finding the way to go and revoke these consents would be something that would be beneficial if we want to believe that we can get out through the system. I say bust through the system and get out. That's it. Don't
No,
go through like what the system offers you. Here, feel better, be a nicer person, take the love light timeline, and then you will, but the system is just going to offer you another door and another door and another door. Just bust through the whole thing. Go get out through the opening the portal or into the true void, and then you're free from all contracts, all consents, all experiences that tie you into any matrix related stuff, and the contract and form. So you literally are back into the fabric of divinity of your own essence, which literally takes the tiny speck of that is now living within this whole system back where it came from. It's the soul recognition of that space is indescribable, and it is return home, and like you could not put into words the state of the return home, but you are out of all systems, all contracts, all timelines, all form. You're really back to pre-existent condition, so to speak. The pre-existent divine condition. That's the way I see out of the system that is very complex and takes millions of years to graduate from, if there is such a thing.
That's pretty much how, what I've come to, and it's all has been an internal process. There's always someone outside of me mirroring certain things that I can sort of, I can see what they're talking about because I felt it. But here's the thing that I've felt since childhood, like something that is
Yeah.
unshakable within me. Whenever somebody says, here is the limit, here you can go till here and not further, there is something inside of me that it's not rebelling against it. It just knows that the limit and I are not of the same substance. You know what I mean? They just don't, we just don't. So that just doesn't, it never worked for me. I could never say, oh, when somebody puts a limit there, it's just not happening for me. I don't recognize that limit. So but I can also see how many people want to continue to have these experiences because every time something new and shiny comes up, it's interesting, right? Oh, this is better. This is, and all that I want to say is, you are like apple pie. If you can slice apple pie as thin as you want it, you're still apple pie, no matter how far out you go. We are actually part of original source energy. And if we choose to return to it, yes, you won't have a body anymore. If you ever experience it, which I hope you do while you're still in this body, you will know just how indescribable it is. It's like you would never ever say, "Oh, this might be boring." Okay, so
Yeah, I know. Oh, thank you. 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 Because the number of people that I interact with that ask me this question, like, oh, and what do I do there? Oh, please, please just have an experience. There is absolute, it literally is the soul level recognition of return home. No other experience, no other dimension, no matter how high and how beautiful within the structure, gives you that level of soul recognition of returning home. Coming back from it, when you return into your earth, when you have these experiences while you're still here in the physical, and you return back to the body, I can't move. I can't achieve. All I want to do is I want to just cry from bliss, the blissful tears, because it stays with you. It tingles your soul. It tingles every particle in your body, and it's just bringing that back here is a gift. So yeah, experiencing it while still alive shows you where you can go and how to get out of the whole structure and the reincarnation. And you can take a slow way. You can take the slow way where you graduate and then you learn how to love better, and you learn the unconditional love, and then you're on the next planet, and then you learning something else, and then you're on the next planet and you're learning something else, and then there are millions of years go by, and then you made a mistake, you're back to earth, so that is also the way. But it takes, it's not a direct path out. There is a direct path out. And all we have to do is really want it and practice, train, pave the way, show our soul where to go. And at the end of this lifetime, just the soul will go there, and that's it. It's not complicated.
And I think the average human behavior shows that on some level there's a faint memory because people chase highs, and
Yeah.
and the human explanation is, oh, they want to numb something or escape something, but really we have, even if it's very faint, we have a memory of the infinity of that feeling that, the return of home is. And then people chase drugs and alcohol and sex and all these things that give them a fraction of a second of not even in any way, shape, or form comparable, right? But still, they chase it. So, what is it that you teach people when they work with you? Like, how do you teach them, and what are the most common themes and questions that people have when they come to you?
I teach the breath work and the meditation technique, and that's all you need, really. That if you persist and if you do it, if you stay with it, if you don't succumb to the content ADD that is our reality now, like, oh, here's this modality and this modality and this modality and this modality and this modality, and oh, this didn't work within first 3 days, I'm going to jump to the next one. Oh, there's this teacher, he said that, and that teacher said this, and this teacher said that. And so that's just like the mind running in circles, but there is so much content being offered that it takes a willpower effort to stop, choose a modality, and stick with it. To develop any skill takes time. It takes time, effort, and discipline,
And
right?
focus, sharp focus. Like,
Exactly.
make this
Yes.
make this the focal point. Do your day, do what you need to do, but this needs to be where your attention, your intention, your energy,
Yeah.
your love, everything goes, right?
Excellent. Yes, exactly that. Yeah. And if you stick with it, you're going to get there. That's it. That's it. There's no secret here. You don't have to be special. You don't have to be chosen. You don't have to be enlightened. You don't have to be any of that. You can be a regular Joe from the street. Start doing the practice, and you are going to start having enlightenment level experiences, or at least, these are called enlightenment level experiences to make them sound unattainable, but they're very attainable. So people start having experiences that give them awareness of subtleties of this reality first, and then the next thing you know, poop, you're out of this structure, and you are in the divinity of your essence, and one experience will change your life forever. But if you make it a skill, it's a guaranteed way, it's a sure way to direct your soul right back there after you pass, so you're not confused, so you're not shepherded to a different planet or into the tunnel of white light or any of the life review or any of that. As soon as the second your body lets go of you, you direct your soul into that space that you have already found, already experienced, already know, and can recognize by that soul recognition. And you just connect right back there, and you're out. You're out of the system. You're out of the earth matrix. You're out of the greater matrix with other worlds, realities, dimensions. You're out of all of it, and you are infinity itself.
You're basically teaching people how to feel the choice again, the ultimate choice, and then they can do whatever they want with it. It's everyone's free will to do it or not, or continue on this. I just love that, that our paths, and not just you and me, but others in our community, are somehow parallel, and
Mm.
that we can hold space for these perspectives and still go, listen, we can have a
Yeah.
wonderful life. We can experience the joy of this and still realize it's ultimately not real, and there's something much, much greater outside of all of this, and both things can be true at the same time. I think that's important.
And I just had a realization that we can have one foot in the system that the matrix offers us, as in taking the higher timeline, learning the unconditional love, making that our state of being right here, That's the past. That's what they laid out for us for thousands and thousands of incarnations and experiences, like we just talked, right? And you can have that. You can do that here, and it will uplift your reality tremendously because it's available and it's possible and it's a part of the system. So take advantage, do it. Do yourself a favor, do your loved ones a favor, do the world a favor. Go through that. One foot there and another foot in as a remembrance of your true essence and the true soul. And when the day comes, you will say, hey, I loved my earth experience, but I'm following my other foot right out of the same system. I'm not taking thousands and hundreds and millions of incarnations in this whole structure. I've had enough. Yeah.
I gotta ask you something. While you were speaking, I've had this vision for the last 2 or 3 years, and I've shared this with our community, that I saw a certain section and a certain section of people that make the choices like you just shared them thrive tremendously. Like they're going to experience a level of thriving in the next years that they couldn't even imagine before. Do you see that too? Because I've been seeing it for a few years now, and I'm just, I always think of how can I help them get there, and I'm like, oh, probably I don't really need to. They're through their choices. But do you see something similar?
What do you mean by thriving? Because there are different levels of that. There is the state of being that doesn't depend on your financial status. There is the that level of unconditional love, being the state of being that gives you that same state. And it doesn't matter if you live in a shack in the forest, you're still in the enlightenment state the entire time and smile the entire time. Or do you mean like a financial abundance and success, and like what do you mean specifically?
And an experience of greater unlimitedness on all levels, which I think will express differently for different people. So some will experience whatever is necessary for them to also be as effective in positively influencing the people around them. So for some it will be more of this, for some more of that, but for everyone a greater level of unlimitedness. If an experience wants to be had, or if something would help them help others, it'll be much more achievable, much easier, much lighter to have that. That's what I'm seeing.
Yes, and as you correctly explained recently in one of your videos, that what you put out, you get back. Our simulation or matrix or whatever this is that we're in, the algorithm, Earth algorithm, right? Earth algorithm can be influenced and responds to your state of being. When you know this and you're able to hold your frequency, hold the state of being, but in earnest, truly release the trauma, not pretending, not spiritually bypassing, but truly release the trauma, truly reach the level where your frequency matches the higher level of experience, your manifestations become easy and instant. It looks like reality just responds to what you think. And be careful with that, because sometimes it happens within seconds, so it's very important to maintain your awareness of your state of being. So people are becoming aware of this. This is a fact. We call it the law of attraction. It could very easily be the algorithm of the simulation or the law of attraction. Either one, who cares? It works, right? So people, more and more people are becoming aware of that, and those who are will be able to have manifestations beyond their wildest dreams.
Yes.
And are already having that. Mm. And sometimes it's humorous in my own reality. Sometimes when I'm in this super elevated state, things just, it's comical how it happens. For example, I'm sitting there looking at the notes from like a session a long time ago, and I'm reading in the notes something about the red cardinal bird. And I'm sitting there looking at that, thinking about that. And I look up, and in front of my window, there is a red cardinal bird just boop, lands at that moment as I lift my eyes. I go, "Oh, isn't that nice?" And the same moment. So I put down the notes and I go to the kitchen, and in front of me there's a notepad, and it's got a phone number and the name of something. I don't know, air conditioning, plumbing, whatever, like some technician. And I'm like, what is that? Where did I get that from? What is this? I look at that. I look up, and in front of me on the street is a truck that size, same phone number, same name, right in front of my window. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. And it happens a lot. And it happens in this way with everything, because just like you described, that when you open up and you are in alignment to receive whatever it is that you envisioned, it all came together. I've had many of these experiences throughout my journey, and these little comical things that I'm describing here, they're just the little, like, our system, our reality just drops these little reminders for us to see how easy things can be.
I got it. This is so incredibly synchronistic. So it was probably last year, I don't know, but I got frustrated with the surface level explanation of all the law of attraction teachers and the bypassing. And I said, and I was just making a video about how the bypassing doesn't do anything, and how it isn't like this. It goes deeper. And anyway, so I said, it's not like you just think of a pink elephant and then the pink elephant shows up in a room. That was what I said on the video. So I say this, and then after, I'm done recording, and Christine and I decided to go to a restaurant, and it's this one big room restaurant, just one big room. And I'm sitting there, we're talking, we're waiting for the food. And over at the other table was a mother with her little girl. She must have been 5 maybe. And she was coloring, and I just look at her and we smile. And you know how, you just, it's just when kids are receptive like that, it's just beautiful. They smile back at you and whatnot. And then I observe her as she walks up, and in that restaurant, they had a wall of all the stuff that the kids drew and colored. And so that's where the kids can hang their stuff. And so she hangs up hers. And it was just low enough so it was hidden by some decoration. So I get up, I walk over there. It was a pink elephant
Yeah,
that
I know. Oh my god. I am not surprised at all.
No,
Not
but I'm
surprised.
I'm just like, yeah, I contradicted myself. You can think of a pink elephant and it can show up in your room, just
Yeah,
not maybe the way that you thought it would.
exactly. And this is about manifestation. Something about manifestation, that it definitely depends on the what's happening on the back seat within your energy field, within your state of being. Because if you're just sitting there and saying an affirmation like, I'm seeing a pink elephant, or I'm financially abundant, or I don't know, whatever, I got a new house, but in the background there's this feeling like, yeah, I don't deserve it, but no, it's never gonna happen. Like the being unable to receive and not open and traumatized to the level that you're not uh, on the same page with that means the trauma is still there and vibrating in your field. You're never gonna get what you're envisioning, or making a vision board about, or making affirmations about. But once that's been cleared and you're open and you are in uplifted state, and this very often happens when you're in a great mood, right? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, check this out. Oh, I just thought of that. There it is. Yeah, right. And also, so the great mood, but the trauma cleared before that, then literally sky is the limit. There is no such thing in the universe as something that is too big or too small for you to produce like that out of thin air. And there is a law to it, or there's a algorithm to it. I don't know, but it definitely happens. And so the people who got this, and the people who have been on the journey long enough to have done enough this work, of this inner work, and upgraded themselves, and uplifted themselves, and took themselves out of that, the whole thing that we're marinated in, in this reality. Yeah, they can experience whatever it is that they are in resonance with. And if you create a vision board with 100 details of your pink elephant, right, you will probably get between 50 and 60% of these details, and the other 40 will just be so humorous you can just laugh about it. Like, you do get the pink elephant, but it's on a piece of paper, like that.
I didn't
Yeah.
specify, really. I didn't say, it was
Yep.
just incredible. When it's so fast and so synchronistic, then you're just reminded, this is how this program works. This is how the field
Yep.
works. You might as well have fun with it and use it.
Exactly.
Isabella, when people, people that are watching this that are interested in learning more, how can they get in touch with you? Where can they learn more, and where can they work with you?
I have a Facebook group where we focus on exiting reincarnation, and it is called literally Exiting Reincarnation. And I also have the voidacademy.net, my website, where I have classes. I just started doing the Q&As where I teach, or I answer the questions for those who do the practice that I teach. And I have 3 courses on there now, and I've taught all of the supporting classes that I thought were important at the beginning of this process. So people can go to the website and get these materials, and if they have questions, then I have the Q&As now available, and the next one is in November 15th, where I literally sit with people like this, and they write their questions in chat, and I answer them live. So this is a kind of service that I am now providing for people. So it's either the voidacademy.net or Exiting Reincarnation, my Facebook group. And I'm in the process of writing my 3rd book. And originally, when I thought about the 3rd book, it was literally something else entirely than what is coming out now. So now, somehow, as I'm writing it, there are fascinating otherworldly experiences that keep coming up in my mind that I've had, and I'm just putting them all. I'm not resistant into that book. I'm not resistant the flow. It like literally is writing itself. And for a while, I wasn't sure. I was like, why? I started the book months ago and it wasn't progressing, and I wasn't sure like why. I had the whole everything laid out, and it was just not like there was like this resistance there. And I already announced it in Europe. It's like announced as a trilogy, but why is this not happening? And then now, as I started writing, I'm remembering those incredible otherworldly experiences that I had in different during different times in my life, and during different in different dimensions of reality. And there's so much fun. I'm like, this is what I'm writing now. But there'll be information about reincarnation and afterlife, and the pre-birth dimension there as well. But I think it might have a very different frequency to it compared to Beyond the Trap, for example. So it's in the works as well.
Well, we look forward to it. And as a songwriter, I can completely relate. I've written well over 1,000 songs, and a few songs were written through me. And those are the ones that I love really. That's a completely different story. So um, the voidacademy.net, the Exiting Reincarnation Facebook group, we're going to put the links in the description. Isabella, thank you for a beautiful conversation. And I just love that, you know, you're out in Arizona, we're in Tennessee, people are all over the world, but we're somehow having similar experiences at similar times. Isn't that beautiful?
I love it. I love it. And this was my favorite conversation by far over the last 3 years. So thank you so much. And I have this purity, innocence of the heart that has never been truly changed or lost. And the rainbow experience and the observation of the higher unconditional love timeline, that just lifts my heart right back, gives it wings. And I am so grateful that we had the conversation in this frequency and on this level. So thank you so much. And I wish everyone who is listening to open themselves up to receive the beauty and the magic of this reality, regardless of what is happening all around and elsewhere. It still is there, it is still available, and it is one of the options that the Matrix set up for us. So let's take advantage of that and have a wonderful, wonderful experience here on this planet.
Thank you, Isabella. I second that fully. And I'm just grateful, just full of gratitude. My heart is full. Inspire Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in, for spending or sharing this time with us. You know, we love you. We appreciate you, and we'll be back with you again very, very soon. Today, I'd love to invite you to experience something incredible that completely changed our lives, and I trust it will do the exact same for you. Now, maybe you have visited a place or walked into a house and just felt an incredible energy, just peace, love, harmony, and you keep returning to those places because they feel so good. Such places exist in nature. Maybe you've heard of them, Machu Picchu or Mount Shasta or other places that are considered to be high consciousness fields. It is where the level of consciousness is literally higher than everywhere else, and people go there to heal, to have spiritual experiences, to meditate, to feel more peace and harmony. Now, our friends over at FLFE, Jeffrey Stegman and Clayton Stedman, have developed a spiritual quantum technology that creates such a high consciousness field around your home or on the go with their mobile service. It is a non-invasive, non-AI technology. There are no downloads or devices that you need. The technology works with quantum entanglement. The results are absolutely amazing. My wife Christine and I did their free trial, and we were just blown away by the energy, the better sleep, the better harmony, and especially the EMF mitigation. This absolutely mitigates those effects and creates this field of unconditional love right where you are. I could talk about this all day long, but here's what I think you should do. Click the button down below that says start my free trial and simply experience it for yourself. 15 days, no credit card needed, no strings attached. Trust me, you will love it.